The first thing I remember is the smell: burnt coffee and betrayal. I was standing in front of the glass conference room, still clutching the stupid cardboard tray of lattes I'd brought for everyone, watching my business partner, my best friend, and my girlfriend screw each other against the projector screen. The startup we'd built from my garage, the pitch deck I'd written, the woman who said I was too intense. And I just stood there, hot coffee soaking my shoes, her laugh cutting through the glass. That was the exact moment I realized I was expendable. Before that morning, I really believed I was building something. Not just a product, not even a company, something bigger, a future I could point to and say, that was me. We called it Pulse. The name was Leo's idea. He said it sounded alive, something that could feel the market's heartbeat. I liked it because it felt human, even if what we were building was anything but. An app that claimed to predict emotion, measure it, graph it, sell it. The kind of Silicon Valley promise that feeds off hope and caffeine until both run out. I handled the real work: code, systems, data pipelines, infrastructure, all the things that kept the dream standing. Leo handled the theater. He had a gift for convincing people he cared, even when he didn't. His smile was expensive and permanent, like something he bought in a backroom deal with God. He called me the engine, said he was the face. I used to laugh when he said that. I thought we made a good team, the thinker and the talker. I didn't realize that when people say they're the face, what they mean is you're replaceable. The office was this old converted warehouse in downtown LA, exposed brick, fake greenery, a neon sign that read "Feel More." I slept there most nights. The place smelled like burnt coffee, server heat, and ambition that was starting to rot. I'd crash under my desk for a few hours, wake up with keyboard marks on my cheek, and keep coding. Mia used to show up with Thai takeout, teasing me for being a cliché. She'd sit on the couch, barefoot, scrolling through her phone while I talked to her about algorithms like they were children I was raising. She'd smile, nod, pretend to listen, and then say, "You're obsessed." She meant it like a compliment. Or maybe that's just how I chose to hear it. Back then, I thought obsession was the same as purpose. When we got our seed funding, it felt like winning the lottery. Suddenly we had interns, custom mugs, matching hoodies, all the superficial signs of success. Leo started showing up in tailored suits. He'd clap me on the back and say, "We're almost there, brother." Then he'd leave early for investor dinners. By month 10, he barely came to the office. By month 11, I was debugging code that no one would ever see, while he was doing photo ops for tech blogs. By month 12, the only thing I recognized anymore was the server uptime graph. Flat, steady, reliable. Like me. I noticed small things then, little betrayals disguised as habits. Mia's perfume lingering longer in his office after she left, her lipstick smudged on the rim of a coffee mug that wasn't mine, the way she started defending him in arguments that had nothing to do with her. Still, I didn't want to see it. I told myself they were just close because we were all building the same dream. I buried it under work, the easiest way to silence suspicion. One night, after a pitch event downtown, I saw Leo leaning in close to a stranger by the bar. The man had the look of money, old money, patient money. I didn't mean to listen, but Leo wasn't exactly whispering. "We're cutting Cross out," he said. "He doesn't have the vision. He's too mechanical." I remember that word, mechanical. It stuck to me like oil. I went home, lay awake under my desk, staring up at the underside of it like it could answer for him. By morning, I'd convinced myself I'd misheard. I even laughed about it, told Mia over takeout that Leo must have been drunk. She smiled too quickly and said, "You're overthinking it." That's the thing about denial. It's not loud. It hums. Soft, steady, like white noise in the background of a collapsing world. You learn to live with it until the silence becomes unbearable. And that silence, it was already growing. The next morning, I came in early. Too early. The city was still half asleep, the sky bruised purple over the skyline, and I was running on a mix of caffeine, paranoia, and blind hope. I'd spent the night debugging a server crash, watching lines of code blur into static. My brain felt like wet cement, heavy and half dry. But I told myself it was fine. I just needed one good day, the Series A demo, the pitch that would finally prove we'd built something worth bleeding for. I balanced the coffee tray in one hand, 4 cups, one for each of us. A peace offering, maybe. A ritual. I'd done it every morning for months, because that's what you do when you still believe in we. The office was quiet when I got there. Too quiet. The hum of the servers in the back room, the faint buzz of the fluorescent lights, the smell of cold air and cheap espresso. The kind of silence that feels like someone hit pause on your life. I remember reaching for the door to the glass conference room, the one with the words Pulse HQ etched across it. I didn't open it. I didn't have to. Through the glass, I saw it all. Mia's hand on Leo's chest, his tie looped around her wrist like some kind of trophy, and behind them, my face on the projector, frozen on a company document. My name crossed out in red. For a second, my brain refused to process it. Like my mind couldn't decide which betrayal to feel first, the personal or the professional. The sound that broke the silence wasn't a scream or a gasp. It was the soft creak of the cardboard tray in my hands as my grip tightened. They didn't see me at first. They were too wrapped up in whatever that was. Lust, power, the thrill of erasing me. No words, just movement. Something inside me shifted. It wasn't rage. Not yet. It was quieter, colder, a mechanical click deep inside my skull, like a switch flipping from hope to no more. The tray slipped. Coffee hit the floor, splattering across the white carpet, hot enough to sting through my shoes. I didn't even flinch. I just watched the stain spread, dark, fast, permanent. Mia's head turned first. Her hair fell across her face, eyes widening just slightly like she'd been caught mid-lie. Then Leo turned, his shirt half-buttoned, Owenheim with his smirk forming too easily. Ethan, hey, this isn't. I didn't let him finish. I didn't need to. There's a kind of silence that says everything. I turned and walked out. Slow, deliberate, like leaving the scene of an accident I didn't cause, but somehow deserved. Outside, the sunlight hit me like static. Everything looked too sharp. The cars, the pavement, the street signs. I remember thinking, so this is what it feels like when your life implodes quietly. By noon, my keycard stopped working. By 1, my email password was invalid. By 3, my name was gone from the company Slack. By 6, they posted the press release. Pulse announces strategic restructuring. Co-founder Ethan Cross transitions out to pursue new opportunities. I read it on my phone while sitting on the curb outside my apartment. Gas station ramen in one hand, phone in the other. I laughed when I saw the words, new opportunities. The kind of laugh that doesn't sound human. Then my banking app pinged. Rent payment declined. My last bit of savings had gone to server costs for a company I no longer owned. So I just sat there, chopsticks in hand, watching the sun disappear behind the high rises. The asphalt radiated heat through my jeans. My reflection shimmered in the puddle beside me, distorted, cracked. Everything I'd built, the code, the name, the dream, stripped from me in less than a day. People talk about losing everything like it happens in slow motion. It doesn't. It's instant. 1 minute you're holding coffee, planning a pitch deck. The next you're a ghost sitting on a curb, eating dinner out of a styrofoam cup. I didn't cry, didn't rage, not yet. I just sat there, numb, repeating one truth over and over in my head until it lost meaning. It's gone. My company, my girl, my identity, all gone. In one day. The first week was survival. No plans, no pride, just instincts. I pawned my MacBook, sold the last thing that still smelled like ambition, slept in my car behind a strip mall in Echo Park, showered at the gym with strangers who looked like me, people pretending they still had somewhere to be. LA looked different when you had nothing left to lose. Billboards weren't ads anymore. They were sermons from gods you'd stopped believing in. You can do it. Dream bigger. Trust the process. All lies. The only thing I trusted was that hunger and humiliation make a person quiet in a way success never does. I spent my days applying for jobs I didn't want, and nights scrolling through Pulse's site, my code still running in the background like a ghost I'd built to haunt myself. Then came the stranger. It was around 2 a.m., at a 24-hour diner off Sunset, the kind of place that always smelled like bacon grease and burnt hope. I was hunched over a plate of cold fries, arguing with my landlord on the phone, pretending I still had a plan. When I hung up, the seat next to me creaked. Big guy, rough beard, broad shoulders that made his leather jacket look too small. He sat like someone who didn't ask for permission. "You sound like a man who got robbed," he said, voice low, unbothered. I didn't even look up. "You spying or just bored?" He chuckled. "A little of both. Name's Ronan." That name hit like a thud, heavy, old-fashioned. He had this military stillness to him, like someone who'd seen things he couldn't unsee. He didn't blink much. "I overheard your call," he said. "Guy who owes rent but sounds too smart to be broke. What happened? Partner screw you over?" I smirked. "You psychic or just good at reading losers?" He grinned, not offended, just amused. "Neither. I'm good at recognizing anger that's waiting for a target. You want to make things right?" I laughed, tired and hollow. "Unless you've got a time machine or $1 million, I'm good." He leaned back, studying me. "I've got something better. Information." That made me look up. He slid a small flash drive across the counter. The plastic clinked against the formica. "Everything your partner thinks he deleted. Code, emails, contracts. You're smarter than he is, I can tell. Might as well take back what's yours." I stared at it. "Who the hell are you?" "Let's just say I help people recover what's been taken from them. Digital recovery, mostly." He smiled, but it wasn't kind. "Corporate justice. If you want to dress it up nice." I didn't touch the drive. "And what's the price tag?" He sipped his coffee. "A favor. Later." Simple. Too simple. Which meant it was dangerous. But desperation doesn't care about fine print. So I took it. For the next month, I lived like a ghost with Wi-Fi. Crashed at motels with flickering lights. Worked out of libraries and laundromats. I opened the drive. It was all there. Every buried email, every hidden repo, even the contract drafts proving Leo had cut me out illegally. My fingerprints were still on every line of code. It was like holding my own past, raw and unedited. I rebuilt everything from scratch. A new name, a new platform. No grand mission statement this time. Just code that worked and didn't belong to anyone else. I called it Helix. Sold a prototype to Pulse's biggest rival Emotive for just enough to breathe again. Every dollar they wired me felt like oxygen. Every bug I fixed felt like revenge. But guilt? Just momentum. I told myself I wasn't angry anymore, that this was just business. But deep down, I knew that was a lie. Revenge is just anger with good posture. Then one night, my burner phone rang. Blocked number. I hesitated, then answered. "Ethan?" The voice was low, shaky. "Maya." For a moment, I didn't breathe. She whispered, "He's not who you think. Leo's in deeper than..." I hung up, because I didn't want to hear it. Didn't want to play the game of half-truths and trembling apologies. She was trying to save me from something, maybe? Or maybe she was just trying to save herself. Either way, I didn't care about redemption stories anymore. What I cared about was control. And for the first time in a long time, I could feel it again, cold, sharp, and humming beneath my skin. The day of Pulse's big public launch, the city felt cleaner than usual. Too bright, too glassy, like it had been scrubbed of anything real. I showed up at the downtown convention center dressed in black. Shirt, tie, name tag, all borrowed from a catering service that didn't know I existed. My smile was fake, my badge misspelled, but nobody looked twice. People rarely do when you're holding a tray. Inside, the air buzzed with money and ego. Investors in tailored suits, influencers in rented confidence, cameras flashing like synthetic lightning. I could smell the arrogance. Expensive perfume mixed with burnt coffee and the kind of champagne people drink just to prove they can. Ronan's voice came through the tiny earpiece tucked behind my collar. "Signal's clean," he said. "On your mark." I was standing near the back, next to a wall draped in LED lights. My hands were steady, though my heart wasn't. The tablet in my pocket vibrated. The code was ready. Months of sleepless nights, half-truths, and dirty favors, all distilled into one elegant act of revenge. Then I saw him. Leo, standing center stage in a custom navy suit, microphone clipped to his perfect jawline. He looked like the man I used to believe in, confident, unstoppable, untouchable. He grinned at the audience with that same fake warmth that once fooled me. "Today," he said, voice booming, "we redefine what it means to feel connected." He loved that word. Connection. He built an empire on it. Behind him, the massive LED screen pulsed with color, a live demo of Pulse's emotion recognition engine. The crowd leaned forward, hungry for the next digital miracle. I took a slow breath, slid my finger across the tablet. Upload initiated. The lights flickered, subtle at first. Then the feed glitched, a pixelated shimmer rippling across the display. I could almost hear my code unfolding, rewriting the illusion line by line. At first, people thought it was part of the show. Then the app on their phones began to react, violently. Notifications poured in, not curated data, but raw truth. Their private messages, their unfiltered emotional profiles, affairs, lies, financial fraud. Every heartbeat, every hidden impulse, projected live on screen. I didn't build a demo. I built a confession booth. The room went silent for a beat. Then chaos bloomed. Phones buzzed, people shouted. Screens glowed red with panic. One investor's face went pale as his wife's messages flashed overhead, proof of a second life in Singapore. Another man dropped his phone and bolted for the door. And Leo, my perfect smiling partner, froze mid-sentence. The mic slipped from his hand, feedback screaming through the speakers. I could see the moment he realized what was happening. His eyes darted toward the screen, where my old emails appeared, time-stamped, undeniable. His words, "Cut him out quietly. I'll keep his equity under my shell company." Mia's fine with it. She knows he's too naive to fight back. Gasps filled the room like oxygen returning to a dying fire. Mia was near the front, her face drained of color as the texts kept coming, their messages to each other, my name between their sentences like a bruise. She screamed something, maybe at him, maybe at me. I couldn't tell. Ronan's voice crackled in my ear. "You sure you want to go through with this?" I watched Leo stumble, trying to explain, to spin it, but no one was listening anymore. The great man was unraveling, his empire of charm collapsing in real time. I whispered back, "Too late now." Security moved fast, whispering into earpieces, scanning the crowd for the source. But I was already walking, not running, toward the service exit. Calm, detached, like I'd already left my body behind. As I passed the corridor mirrors, I caught my reflection. For a second, I didn't recognize the man staring back. His eyes were cold, almost proud. Ronan's voice snapped again, "Get out. Now." I slipped through the back doors, heart hammering like an old machine struggling to restart. Outside, the air hit me, thick with heat, smog, and something like freedom. Ronan was waiting by the van, engine idling, laptop still open on the dashboard. When he saw me, he let out a low whistle. "Hell of a show," he said, grinning wide. "You really outdid yourself." I tried to smile, but it didn't reach. The adrenaline was fading, replaced by something hollow and heavy. "Guess we're both in the business of recovery now." He nodded, eyes glinting. "Yeah, about that." That's when I noticed it. The grin stayed, but his hand was different, steady, deliberate. And in that hand was a gun. For a moment, the world shrank to the sound of the engine and the soft click of metal. "About that favor," he said again, almost kindly. I didn't speak, didn't move. The night around us buzzed with distant sirens, the kind that follow consequences. And just like that, my victory, the one I thought I wanted, started to taste a lot like fear. Ronan didn't want money. He wanted access. The master key. The servers, the backdoors, the network I'd spent years building. He wanted the chaos I'd unleashed to be his weapon. Turns out the man who'd handed me a flash drive and called it justice wasn't a savior. He was a data mercenary. My revenge was his payday. He smiled like it was personal. "You built something dangerous, kid. I'm just giving it purpose." I remember the smell of oil and dust in that warehouse, stale air, old rust, flickering light from my laptop casting shadows on his face. He'd tied me to a chair with plastic zip ties, not cruelly, just efficiently. There's something worse than malice, indifference. On the screen, lines of code bled like veins. My code. Only now it was being rewritten, multiplied, spread into networks I didn't even recognize. "You don't know what you're doing," I told him. He chuckled. "Sure I do. You wanted truth? I'm just scaling it." Then he left. The sound of the metal door closing was louder than the gun ever was. Hours passed. My wrists burned from struggling against the ties. The laptop screen dimmed, glowing faintly in the dark. I could still hear the hum of the fan, the quiet labor of something alive, something I'd made and lost. I hated how proud part of me still was. Finally, I found a shard of metal under a pile of broken pallets, thin, sharp enough. I dragged it across the tie inch by inch, cutting into my skin before the plastic snapped. When I got free, the warehouse was empty. The code was still running, but I didn't stop it. Maybe I should have. Maybe I wanted to see how far the damage went. By dawn, Pulse was everywhere. Not as a company anymore, as a curse. The app that killed privacy. The headlines blurred together. Government inquiries, lawsuits, whistleblowers coming out of nowhere. The whole idea of emotional data, reading people like algorithms, it imploded overnight. Leo vanished from every public record. Mia too. Their social accounts went dark. I don't know if they ran or if Ronan made sure they couldn't. I didn't stick around to find out. I drove north. No plan. Just a bag, a cheap phone, and what was left of me. The freeway stretched into fog, the kind that swallows things whole. Somewhere around Big Sur, I stopped at a gas station, bought a burner laptop, and created a new name. No more Pulse. No more Cross. Just Ethan North, another ghost with a Wi Fi signal. I rented a cabin by a lake, small enough to disappear in. I built again. Not a company this time, not an empire. Something quieter. Code that didn't predict people but helped them stay hidden. Encryption tools for journalists. Anonymous payment platforms for whistleblowers. I stopped chasing connection. I started protecting it. I didn't advertise, didn't hire, didn't tell anyone who I was. Some nights I'd stay up late, fingers hovering over the keyboard, the glow of the screen reflecting off the window, the same color as the sky before dawn. That was when I'd hear it. That click, that quiet snap inside my head, the one that started it all. It used to mean something breaking. Trust, sanity, illusion. Now it meant something else. Control. I wasn't naive enough to call it peace, but it was close enough. Sometimes I still dream about that morning in the glass conference room. The smell of coffee, the sound of Mia's laugh, the shock of everything collapsing at once. In the dream, I don't walk away. I just stand there, holding the tray, frozen between past and future. But when I wake, I know better. Some things have to burn before they make light. So I keep typing. Not to build a world this time, just to understand it. And somewhere in that rhythm, the tap, the silence, the click, I hear what I lost becoming something else. Not revenge, not forgiveness, just the truth, finally clean. I lost everything in one day. But maybe I needed to. It's strange how destruction can feel like clarity when you've been living blind for so long. I used to think my work defined me, that success was a kind of love you could measure in downloads and investors' smiles. But when it all burned down, when every line of code turned against me, I finally saw what was left underneath all that noise. What survived wasn't the company or the girl or even the dream. It was the part of me that refused to die. I used to think revenge was the opposite of peace, that you had to choose between them. Now I think maybe you don't. Maybe revenge is just peace with teeth. Some nights, when the roads are empty, I drive past the city, that glittering lie of light and ambition. Through the smog, I still catch the faint outline of the old Pulse billboard. The logo half burned, still pulsing in red. It flickers like a heartbeat, and for a moment, I can't tell if it's the city's or mine. Either way, it reminds me that I'm still here, alive, changed, unfinished.